He wasn't just another village boy. Hugo was a boy on a mission. Even as a teenager, his hands were never idle. While others chased girls or gambled at junctions, Hugo was washing cars, selling spare parts, or helping his father farm. People admired him. Girls loved him. Elders blessed him. But what made him stand out wasn't just his looks or hard work, it was his dreams. Hugo wanted to own businesses that would feed families, build estates, and open schools. And by age 28, he did just that. He started with one auto repair shop, then expanded to a chain of transport businesses and cold rooms, and even donated to build a health center in his mother's village. His name echoed across towns as the youngest millionaires from humble roots. He neither smoked nor drank. He believed the body was a temple. He didn't club, didn't party deep into the night. People said, "This one will go far." But no man is without a flaw, and Hugo's weak point is women. He couldn't resist beautiful women. It wasn't that he mistreated them. No, he adored them. He was the kind who saw romance in every hello, beauty in every smile, and possibility in every touch. His heart wandered, always wandering, until he met Adaeus. Adaeus was a queen in mortal skin. Her beauty could calm storms. Her voice was a balm to the soul. She had grace, intelligence, and a work ethic that humbled Hugo. She was a businesswoman who ran her own boutique and managed her family's farm. She could speak English, Igbo, and French. When she walked, even the wind stood still. For the first time, Hugo didn't want to flirt. He wanted to build. He wanted to marry, settle, and be faithful. Their wedding was the event of the year. Dignitaries, celebrities, and pastors all came. The town rejoiced. The elders said, "This union will shake kingdoms." A year later, they welcomed a child, a baby boy who bore Hugo's name and charm. They named him Samadina. May I never be alone again. To help with the baby, Addie's younger sister, Amaka, came to stay. She was barely 18, young, playful, and always wearing short wrappers. Hugo noticed her beauty, but buried it. He tried, but temptation is like fire. It doesn't knock. One night, after Ades had traveled briefly to visit her aunt, Hugo returned home early to find Amaka dancing alone in the living room. Earphones in, wrapper tied carelessly. Something snapped in him. He swore it was a one-time mistake. Mistake that becomes torn on his flesh. One thing led to another. He had sex with his sister-in-law in their sitting room while Ada was away. 2 weeks later, Hugo walked into Amaka when she was vomiting. Oops. Amaka is pregnant. Adaeus was furious when she found out. But before she could process the betrayal, her mother, Mama Ifeoma, arrived for the traditional postpartum care. She is elegant, youthful, and stern. She carried the air of royalty. She disapproved of Amaka's pregnancy, but said little. Hugo, ashamed, tried to stay away from her. But shame is a weak fence when desire comes calling. Amaka ran away from the house as she couldn't bear the shame. Mama Ifeoma would sometimes cook and serve his son-in-law in Adi's absence. Conversations turned into long stares. Stares turned into jokes. Jokes turned into touches. Touches turned into a night they never spoke of, until she, too, missed her period. Now, Hugo had impregnated his sister-in-law and his mother-in-law both under his roof. The guilt was a noose around his neck. He stopped eating. He couldn't sleep. He avoided eye contact with Adaeus. She noticed his distant stares, his shaky hands, his sudden silences. Mama Ifeoma vomited during breakfast. Adaeus questioned her. Mama Ifeoma tried to cover up. Hugo panicked and shouted at both. In that chaotic moment, a neighbor knocked. She whispered something into Addie's ear. Addie's eyes darkened. She rushed into the baby's room, opened a drawer, and returned with a file. She threw it at Hugo. Inside were DNA test results. The boy wasn't Hugo. He staggered. This can't be. Samadina is my son. Addie's voice cut like thunder. Your son? Samadina isn't your son, but your best friend's. Chejio Hugo's best friend. His business partner. His blood. Adaze continued, her eyes flooded with pain. We started dating before you met me. He introduced me to you, but we never stopped. The room fell silent. You could hear the tick of the clock and the crack in Hugo's heart. He looked at Mama Ifeoma, and then he screamed. That day, the sky turned grey. Within some period buff time, Hugo's businesses began to crumble. Rumors spread, customers pulled out. One of his managers embezzled money and fled. His name was stained. His houses were seized by banks. Trucks stopped moving. Friends disappeared. His own uncle called him an abomination. Mama Ifeoma, out of shame, killed herself. Hugo's life was ruined. His parents couldn't bear the disgrace. They died of high blood pressure. He became a madman in the city, shirtless, barefoot, muttering to himself. Sometimes quoting the Bible, other times just crying and asking the wind, why? Why did I fall like this? Adaze left the town, moved to a new city, opened a beauty salon. Her son, now older, knows no father, only peace. But it didn't end here. Hugo moves to live in a remote village, talking and preaching to palm trees. Some say he's seeking forgiveness. Others say he's waiting to die. Months passed. The villagers, once skeptical, began to see Hugo in a different light. His madness no longer frightened them. It inspired them. His eyes, once wild, now held sorrow and wisdom. One Sunday, the village pastor, an old man named Pastor Noir, approached him after a small sermon beneath the mango tree. You know the word, the pastor said. But more than that, you know pain. That's the kind of man who can lead others back to God. Hugo didn't speak. He simply nodded. The following Sunday, he stood in front of the small congregation in the mud brick church. Children squirmed, women adjusted their headscarves, and men folded their arms. But when Hugo began to speak, the room fell silent. He told them everything, not just about his fall, but his rise before it. The pride, the temptations, the women, the betrayal, the moment he screamed into the void. And then he said, wealth is loud, character whispers, and when you stop listening to that whisper, you start digging your own grave. Tears streamed down his cheeks. The village chief stood and said, this man has walked through hell and returned with light. From that day, Hugo became a teacher, not just of the Bible, but of life. He helped in farmlands. He taught young boys about discipline. He helped widows carry baskets from the market. And slowly, his name changed from Pastor Madman to Brother Hugo. Word of Hugo's transformation spread beyond the village. Some heard it in the markets, and others on radio call-in shows, where villagers spoke about the mad prophet who now walks with God. But one person, upon hearing the name, froze. Adaze. She was seated in her beauty salon, trimming a customer's wig, when the radio played an interview with Pastor Noir. He spoke of a man once broken by lust and shame, now restoring lives in a forgotten village. He was a great man before his fall, the pastor said, but his climb back is even greater. Addie's hand trembled. She dropped the scissors. Could it be Hugo? That night, after putting her son to bed, She sat by the window and stared at the stars. Memories flooded her, his laughter, his ambition, the betrayal, the screaming. And then, the silence. She never knew what became of him. Against her better judgment, she made a decision to find Hugo. The journey to find Hugo wasn't easy. Adaze hired a driver and asked questions at every junction. Most people shook their heads, others gave cryptic answers. Finally, in a town bordered by 2 rivers, an old man at a filling station said, "You seek the one who speaks to trees and teaches children. Go to Obi." Adi's heart thudded. That name was familiar. Hugo had once mentioned it as his grandfather's birthplace. When she arrived, villagers watched her curiously. Her car, her clothes, her polished nails, everything screamed outsider. But when she asked for Brother Hugo, their expressions softened. "He's at the farm with the children," someone said. She walked down a path lined with cassava plants and pawpaw trees, until she reached an open field. And there he was, barefoot, smiling, guiding a group of boys and girls as they planted vegetables. His shirt was old, but his presence, majestic. He turned and froze. Their eyes met. Adaze swallowed hard. "Hugo," his lips moved, but no words came out. He stepped forward, then stopped. "I heard you found your way back," she said, voice trembling. He nodded slowly. "But I lost too much to come back whole." She blinked away tears. "I didn't come to fight." "Then why are you here?" His voice cracked. "To say I forgive you," she whispered. Hugo broke down in tears. He fell to his knees, hands covering his head. Adaze didn't stay long. After their reunion in the field, she spoke gently with Hugo for an hour beneath the mango tree. They talked about their son, how he was growing fast, how he loved to paint, and asked deep questions. She didn't mention his best friend. Neither did Hugo. There was no need. Their hearts, once torn apart, had made peace not with what happened, but with who they had become. Before leaving, Adaze reached into her bag and pulled out a small photo of their son in his school uniform. She handed it to Hugo. His laughter. "It's yours," she whispered. Hugo held the photo like a sacred relic. His lips quivered. He pressed it to his chest. "Tell him I pray for him every sunrise," he said, voice thick with emotion. Adaze nodded, tears brimming. "Maybe, one day, he'll come see you." They didn't hug. They didn't need to. Some partings are more sacred in silence. As her car disappeared down the dusty road, Hugo stood in the field, photo in hand, the sun warming his face. Years passed. Brother Hugo became a legend, not of wealth, but of wisdom. His words were quoted at weddings. But he never left the village. Not once. Then, one dry season, a letter arrived. It was from his son. Now, a young man of 17, curious and The letter was simple. "Dear sir, I have heard stories. I would like to meet the man who prays for me at sunrise. I will come during the planting season." Hugo wept when he read it. The villagers had never seen him cry like that, not even during funeral prayers. He folded the letter neatly and placed it inside his Bible. Weeks passed. His son came around. He looked just like Hugo once did, only taller, stronger, and angrier. He didn't speak much. They walked through the farm, sat by the river. Hugo answered questions. He didn't defend himself. He didn't beg. That night, Hugo cooked, and they ate in silence. But the next morning, Hugo didn't come out of his hut. The children knocked. No answer. They called the elders. Inside, they found him lying peacefully, hands crossed over his chest. The photo of Samadina still clutched in his right palm. He had passed in his sleep. On the back of the photo, scribbled in pencil, were the words, "Let my shame die with me. Let my lessons live beyond me." They buried him under the large mango tree where he used to preach. Samadina stayed 2 more days. On the 3rd morning, he walked to the grave, knelt down, and whispered, "Thank you for not being perfect. Thank you for trying anyway. But you have taught me a greater lesson to withhold all the days of my life. A man can ruin his years of hard work just because of some minutes of pleasure. A harsh reminder that impulse can destroy legacy. Moments can undo years. Pleasure without discipline is a trap. Whether it's infidelity, greed, addiction, or reckless decisions, many have lost businesses, families, reputations, and peace, all because they chose a fleeting moment over long-term purpose.